Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight into it. Today we're going to talk about mixed fabrics and fringes based on this email that the brother has sent me here. So let's read it. Let's break it down. Brother says, Shalom, brother. Hey, brother, shalom. I hope all is well with you. I hope the same, brother. I pray the same as well. I have some questions regarding mixed clothing and fringes. So mixed clothing and fringes. I believe my perspective on mixed clothing and maybe even fringes too is going to be a little bit different from what brothers, what I see brothers normally say. So let's get it. I know that while in this captivity, we can only rehearse the righteous acts. Yes, absolutely, according to the scriptures. Understanding some things in part, I wanted to ensure that I am following the law to the best of my ability. I would appreciate your perspective on these subject matters. First, for mixed clothing, how have you and other brothers approached this commandment? So the brother brought up Leviticus 19:19 and Deuteronomy 22:11. So let's read that real quick and then we'll come back to the email. Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 19. Let's get it. Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. So not letting the cattle mix and breed with other cattle or any other, diverse kind. That's why it's going off to make a liger, right? Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed, which could be, on a spiritual level as well. Neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. Okay, so a lot of brothers read this, and also Deuteronomy 22:11, as he mentioned. Let's get this first. Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 11. Thou shalt not wear a garment of divers sorts, as of woolen and linen together. So a lot of brothers read these two scriptures to mean that you must wear a fabric of only one sort, like 100% cotton. Normally that's what I see. What you wear has to be 100% cotton. And I do not believe that to be the case at all, because it just did not say that. I've never seen the scripture say that. And from those two verses, I didn't see anything of the sort. It only mentioned wool and linen. So I'm not sure where the 100% cotton comes from. Just my perspective. That's always how I've seen it. But it looks to be specified. Let's keep going in the email. In Deuteronomy chapter 22 and 11, referring only to wool, animal sores, and linen, plant sores. Okay. Of course, this will be difficult to avoid when considering items such as shoes. So it also did mention shoes and mention garments. I guess you could say that's a garment, but I don't believe it's referring to shoes. And I have a scripture to show you what I mean there. But reading on, but is this enough evidence to conclude that we should be wearing clothes made of purely one material? In my opinion, I know opinions. Brothers hear that word and probably cringing out. Brother, talking about opinions with the scriptures. It's solely because I'm just saying what my perspective of the scriptures are, not saying that the scriptures have, more than one understanding. All right. Anyways, made of purely one material, in my perspective, brother, absolutely not. It is not. There is not enough evidence to make that type of conclusion. Okay. The brother said, in my research, I read that the dyed thread of the ephod, Exodus 28:6-8, may be comprised of wool, meaning this commandment marked a distinction between common garments and those worn by the high priest, but I'm not convinced. Yes, a lot of the, a lot of the laws that we read was really about making a distinction between the Levitical priests and then, all other 11 tribes of Israel, which is important to understand when those laws Well, it's important to understand those types of laws, because when you understand that, you understand that in the first covenant, you had those laws that in today's time, where we're not under the Levitical priesthood, those laws are no longer in effect, in a sense. In a sense. I know that's another thing, brothers probably corrected out about. You saying the law's done away with? No, bro, I'm not. All I'm saying is that there is no Levitical priesthood or Levitical priest that you can go to and provide animal sacrifices or any other type of sacrifices or any other of of the commandments that we had to keep with following the Levitical priesthood. Okay, that's all I'm saying. And if you disagree, then just find me a Levitical priest that's according to the Most High's will, and not just someone that's calling themselves a Levite. And I believe you. But anyways, point is, no, I've never seen either of these laws to mention anything about 100% cotton or 100% of any material. It didn't say that. I know where it probably comes in, where it says a garment of divers sorts, but it says as of woolen and linen together. It didn't say in general. Thou shalt not wear a garment of divers sorts. Also, it's just the English translation. When you go to divers, a garment of divers sorts, or the word that was used here, it says mixed stuff, fabric of mixed weave, linsey, woolsey. So linen and wool, a kind of cloth forbidden for garments, cloth made by weaving linen and wool together. So that was the understanding. It's linen and wool. Now, I've just recently, when I say recently, hell, before this, started looking in my closet in the different clothes that I wore just to make sure. And I've always had this understanding too. First of all, I don't wear that much linen at all. And I think wool, I mean, I don't know if I have anything that contains any wool at all. So especially these two together, I don't have any garments that have linen and wool together, me personally. Now, maybe brothers are a little bit different, especially if it's you located in areas where it's often colder than what it is here in Birmingham, Alabama. However, I don't have anything that has wool in it. And if I did, it probably wouldn't have linen in it. So I know those type of garments exist. However, I just don't own any, to my understanding, to my knowledge. Now, I don't want to bear false witness on that, but just to my knowledge, I don't. So that's why, according to this law, it's not anything that I've sweated too hard, because I've never thought that it was referring to 100% one material, because it just doesn't say that. It's only ever mentioned linen and wool mixed together. Also, here's my other scripture to support that. Let's get the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16 and verse 13. This is a deep chapter talking about Israel and her fall. All right, I always laugh when I read Ezekiel 16 and 3. But for the sake of this lesson, let's just stick to the point. Let's get Let's get Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 13. Thus was thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was of fine linen and silk. So thy raiment was of fine linen and silk, embroidered work. So the broidered work to me means that, because broidered is pretty much like braided, right? So these two fabrics or materials, linen and silk, were broidered together. All right. Thou didst eat fine flour, even though this is parabolic, just, still it's broidered together. and honey and oil, and thou wast exceeding beautiful, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom. Okay. So again, thus wast thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was of fine linen and silk embroidered work. Okay. So to me, especially referring to Israel, I don't believe that it would say, raiment, clothing, apparel, vestments, raiment, attire. All right. I don't believe that, even though, again, this is parabolic for Israel, I don't believe that it would say here that silk and linen would be broidered together if, it was against the law to do so. When I say the law, of course, I'm referring to the biblical law. All right, this commandment that's found in Leviticus chapter 19, Deuteronomy 22 and 11. All right, so that is my perspective on that. So I know that you hit me back and you were saying that you did have the understanding according to the scripture. So let me know. I'm going to email this back to you too, so you can see it, Lord willing, and let me know what conclusion you came to. It could be completely different from this. Just let me know so we can try to see what we can, what conclusion we can come to together. All right. Now, fringes is next. Fringes, oh, fringes. I really think I have a different perspective on fringes than most brothers do, to be honest, because let me say this. Let me preface it by saying this. Now, I saw this post recently on Facebook, and the brother was saying that a lot of brothers have made up a term called camp doctrine. Okay, there's no such thing as camp doctrine. That's just something that brothers that are not in camps like to say. And I disagree, because when I hear camp doctrine, maybe somebody else, they're not thinking of it this way, but the way that I think about it is camp doctrine to me in my head equals the One West teachings. All right. And all of the camps that sprang forth from One West. That's kind of just the way that I look at it. And when you have a lot of the brothers that come from or brought up in the camps that sprung forth out of One West, they kind of, I'm not going to say all of them, of course, but a lot of these brothers, they hold a lot of the same beliefs. Okay. And of course, and obviously a lot of the brothers' beliefs are, at least in my perspective, 100% accurate according to the scriptures. So I'm not saying like these brothers off before I say this, but all I'm saying is that a lot of these brothers, to me, they believe the exact same thing. Obviously, if you're in a camp, most brothers in camps, they try to align their beliefs together to show unity. So that way you won't have 100 members, 20 of them believe this, 20 of them believe this, 20 believe this, so on and so forth. However, I do think all at the same time that can be deleterious to one's growth. And I preface all of this by saying one thing that I've always noticed, and that's always been huge within all of the One West camps, is fringes. To me, brothers be treating fringes as if, if you lose a fringe one day, one of your fringes fall off your clothes, like you just pretty much done for. Now, that was hyperbolic. That was hyperbolic. Obviously, I'm reaching just for comedic purposes, but on a serious note, brothers do, like, to me, they do over exaggerate the wearing of fringes. Let me tell you firsthand, I've seen some wild stuff from brothers and sisters that were wearing fringes. I've seen some wild stuff. So obviously, if wearing fringes was as important as some brothers make it out to be, then it'd be something that spiritually would just take over you, that would stop you from sinning. But again, I could tell you that firsthand, with my own two eyes, that is not the case. I see some wild things with brothers and sisters that were wearing fringes. Okay, it is not some type of, I don't know. It's nothing. It's pretty much just like, I liken it to circumcision, because you could be circumcised and still be going off. You can be uncircumcised and doing your best to keep the law. Okay, it is fleshly, it's carnal. Fringes are. They just are. Okay, am I telling you not to? But I haven't even read this part yet, but am I saying that brothers and sisters should not wear fringes? I'm not even saying that. All I'm saying is that it is carnal. Okay, it's part of what we should wear, okay, on our garments, but it ends there. Okay, it's not a spiritual matter. At least, it by itself, in itself, it's not spiritual. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Okay, now let's actually read here. It says, regarding fringes, I typically only wore them on the Sabbath. I used to do the same thing. I used to like wear fringes either just on the Sabbath or just like based on the availability of the one, two, three shirts that I had. Like if it was dirty, I just didn't worry about it, or whatever the case. So I used to only wear fringes 1 to 3 times a week, and it just hit me. I was like, why am I only wearing fringes on select days? That doesn't really make any sense. So to me, I think when it comes to fringes, you have to be either all the way in or all the way out. And when I say that, I just mean that to me, it doesn't make sense to only wear. And I'm not talking about you directly, brother. Just saying, because I used to do the same thing. It doesn't make sense to me to only wear fringes on one day. If you believe you're supposed to wear them, then you might as well wear them, if not every day, as much as possible, instead of just one day. But brother said, yet considering the example set by Yahushua in Matthew 9:20, let's get that real quick. Matthew 9:20. It says, and behold, Matthew 9:20, and behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of his garment. Now, most brothers know this, but if you go into the concordance, which for the concordance, I'm using Blue Letter Bible, which I normally use in these lessons. But when you look at the word him here, G2899, Craspidon in the Greek, you'll see it say in the outline of biblical usage, it says border, hem. In definition 1, it says the extremity or a prominent part of a thing, edge, skirt, margin. Number 1 says the fringe of a garment. 2 says in the New Testament, a little appendage hanging down from the edge of the mantle or cloak made of twisted wool. 3 says a tassel, tuft. The Jews had such appendages attached to their mantles to remind them of the law. So we've always interpreted this to say, okay, Yahushua wore fringes, I'm going to wear fringes. So if it was off to wear them, why was Yahushua doing it? He was sinless. So understood, right? We probably, a lot of brothers probably know that. And I know he does, and that's exactly why he quoted Matthew 9:20, this brother. Okay, and it says, I see that I may need to be wearing them every day. Yeah, definitely your choice. He says, my question is whether fringes should be woven into all of my clothes, shirts, jackets, hoodies, etc. I saw a brother, he had fringes on a suit jacket, and it looked mad wild. It did. It looked mad funny. I ain't gonna lie. let's keep reading. With the ribbon of blue, and let's get Numbers 15, 38, and 39, and Deuteronomy 22 and 12. Might as well. Let's grab this real quick, and then we'll continue to read the classic Numbers 15 and 38. All right, Numbers 15 and 38. And if you haven't read Numbers 15, which I really feel a lot of y'all will, read it, because read the whole chapter, or especially starting from verse 32, so you can get a full understanding of the context. Okay, Numbers 15 and 38. Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. Verse 39. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go a whoring. Now, so we see that this law was implemented, well, because a man was working on the Sabbath. He got stoned to death, and then the Most High implemented this law for fringes, so we would be reminded of the law, essentially, right? Again, most of us probably know this. And it says throughout their generations. Now, I will say there are other laws that are tied to the Levitical priesthood, including sacrifices, so on and so forth, that do say, also they say throughout their generations. So that in itself is almost not as strong as an argument as some brothers think to say, yes, we must wear fringes to this day. However, yes, wear them. Wear your fringes. I will wear them every day. It's definitely not going off to, right? All it is that when it comes to this, fringes are not going to save you. For the most part, let's be real. Brothers is not looking down at them, remembering the law. It's just like a requirement. You know, in our people, we are not in captivity because of fringes. You know what I mean? Especially right now. If every so-called black man and woman put on fringes right now, we're not going to get out of captivity. That's not going to save our people. Again, this is something of the flesh. It's physical. Our people need a spiritual resurrection, for the lack of better terms right now, just to prove my point. Just meaning our spirits have to be renewed. Okay. Not our clothes. Now, again, so what I'm saying here too is, like, for example, a woman could wear her hair could be wrapped. She could wear a dress, but she still could have a foul mouth and foul thoughts. Those things in itself do not save you. Matter of fact, a lot of brothers catching all types of hell with women that wear these things. Okay. Maybe y'all know a brother, or maybe y'all one of them that have these women that, you know, either they in a camp system, they learn from a camp system, or they just learn from you. They wearing dresses and their hair wrapped, but they still, you know, y'all having domestic problems, domestic violence, and all this different stuff. It happens. Okay. It does. Why? Because that in itself does not change a man or woman. It just does not. And fringes is not going to do the same thing either. All right. And brothers may be thinking, well, there's a lot of stuff like that. I mean, when I put on these shirt, I'm not saying it's going to save me. Yeah, but that's not how it's treated. Okay. Brothers act like if you ain't got some fringes on, you just went slap off. You know, and that's why you don't see this law mentioned nearly as much pertaining to the second covenant. We see this here in Matthew 9. However, we didn't see Paul mention it. We didn't see it mentioned in the weightier laws. It's, there's other things that most of our people have to work on. So I'm just not the person that is going to look at somebody and immediately judge them if they wear fringes or not. Now, that could be indication of other things. So I'm not saying, it don't matter at all. I'm just saying it's not as important to me that brothers make it seem, because that's what the Pharisees did. We know that. That's what the Pharisees did. All right, matter of fact, speaking of Pharisees, let's go to Matthew 23 real quick. And we really could start anywhere here, because Yahweh was all these Pharisees, man. But let's get Matthew 23 and 24. It says, "Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel." Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. So something as small as a gnat, you struggling with the smaller matters of the law, you struggling with. But something like a camel, something that you trying to take on the heavier matters of the law, and you got that, but you can't get the small things. Yeah, that's what it's saying. That's how the Pharisees rolled. All right. Be going back and forth about fringes, straining at a gnat. Fringes is spiritually a gnat from the size of the importance from a salvation standpoint. Okay. But when it comes to the weightier matters, again, the weightier matters is what brothers and sisters really should be pushing. How is your spirit? How is your inward thoughts? How do you treat other brothers? Do you have jealousy in your heart? Do you have envy in your heart? Are you covetous? All right. All of these things really, the laws pertaining in the first 10 commandments are vital. Do you have something in your life that you're holding as an idol? Your woman, for the woman, a man, or your phone, sex, money, social media. All right, vanity. Are you vain? All of these different things that could be going on. All right, do you have some type of addiction? Are you filled with lust? Are you still watching pornography? These are the things that we really have to focus on. And brother, by the way, from this email, I just want to mention real quick, just hit my head. I'm not saying that you say any of this. I'm just using this as a vehicle to drive some points home. I'm not saying that you were saying this. I'm not saying that you are, putting fringes on a pedestal. Not saying that at all. So really, none of what I'm saying is pertaining to your question here, by the way. Just wanted to mention that. But it's something that I've always just wanted to get off my chest, because I've just been seeing it for years. It's always fringes this, fringes that. You ain't got on your fringes. Every time brother posts a picture, you get fringe checked. You ain't got fringes on. Where your fringes at? Where your fringes at? And I see a lot of brothers that teach on the street. Where your fringes at? You got to wear fringes. Sister, brother, you got to wear fringes. And I'm not even saying you shouldn't say that, but if it's me, like, that's not one of the first things that I'm going to mention to someone. Okay? Just me, personally. Now, we can talk about that afterwards, but just to me, having someone understand that they have to repent, that the church system is not the way to the scriptures, is not the way to the Lord. It's completely opposite. It's pagan. those things or whatever they believe in, because they may not be in a church system, whatever their ideology is, or if they have no ideology, which is an ideology, those things are important to me from what I see that Apostle Paul brought out too as well. So not just in my opinion, this is exactly what Apostle Paul was bringing out. Okay, again, talking about circumcision, that's, it's really akin to it to me where fringes is. Okay, and so many of the Israelites, they were mad at Paul for saying these things because for all of these, thousands of years, we've had these things kind of installed in us. Well, we had those, for thousands of years, Israel had, these things installed in their heads to where, circumcision that's it. You ain't circumcised. You ain't hitting no nothing. That was a big point of contention. All right. And people were taking it too far. Again, the Pharisees, they were always making up their own laws. Another example, of course, is in Mark, the 7th chapter, pertaining to washing your hands before you eat. To me, it's the same thing. Like, brothers just make fringes way too big of an issue. Okay, so stop it. And you may think, okay, well, it's not even that big deal. What if I, want to wear fringes and I want to teach wearing fringes and you going off? Well, you do have to keep in mind, is Pharisee like to, put any law that the Most High didn't on a pedestal. Now, we talking idolatry or a weighty matter like that, then yeah, let's talk about it. But fringes, no. And it could be added into the word, which is a law that we cannot do, we cannot break. All right. Reading on, or would these fringes actually be referring to /tassels placed on the four corners of my shirt /garments? So that's my perspective, brother. So this last sentence here, that's what I wear. We just call them zeets or zeets. That's what we call them. So if we go back to, really, you can go here. Actually, if we go to Numbers 15 and 38, and then we go to fringes, that's the word that we'll see. Tzit or tzith. All right. Fringe, tassel, lock. Feminine of H6731, a floral or wing-like projection, i.e. a forelock of hair, a tassel, fringe, lock. All right. It says something here in the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon, something like a flower or feather. Termination of hints, the forelock of the hair. That's the first definition. And second, the borders, the fringe edges, which the Israelites wore on the corners of their garments. Numbers 15, 38, 39. All right, so that's what the zeets or tzitzits, tassels, that's how I pretty much interpret what's supposed to be worn by us. Okay. And I think it's better explained in Deuteronomy 22 and 12. Deuteronomy 22 and 12 says, thou shalt make the fringes upon the four quarters of thy vesture, wherewith thou coverest thyself. Okay. We go to fringes here. Fringe, twisted threads, tassels, festoons, tassels on clothes, festoons on capitals of columns. Strong's definitions from H1431, thread, i.e. a tassel or festoon, fringe, wreath. Okay, so this is exactly why I believe it's zeets that we're supposed to wear. Now, you know, the other nations, you have pictures depicting other nations wearing the fringes that we see that's, common today, which normally the explanation there is they got it from us, especially after being in captivity. I get it. However, that's just my perspective of it right here. So you can get that from plenty of brothers and sisters on Etsy. I know a brother and sister that sells them. So you don't have to actually have that woven on into all of your clothes, unless you want to do that, of course. Your shirts, your jackets, your hoodies. So that's up to you, of course. But that's what I would do, because that is what I do. However, again, I do it with the perspective of this is in remembrance of the law, but this is not a salvation issue. And there was even a time I was talking to a brother about this, that I lost one of my 4 Zeets, and I didn't have that many at the time, so I wasn't wearing them. I went over to brother's house and I was talking to him about it. I was like, I'm about to get some more, and he was got to look at me like, "Dang, bro, you just kind of chilling." But I mean, what else? What else could I really do? I'm just gonna not go outside or something for the day. You know what I mean? So that's just the way I look at it. I got more and I wore them, but hey, that's just my perspective on it. I wouldn't go too crazy on that. And I know when it comes to keeping the law, one might be thinking too, brother, either you in it or you not. I get it. But again, under the second covenant, this is spiritual, man. And when I say spiritual, not from the Christian church's standpoint of spiritual. What I mean is that if you are wearing fringes, okay, and you have wicked thoughts, you going off in any manner of sort, what good does it make? Why does it matter? Okay, it doesn't matter at all. So I would rather, I would rather not wear fringes and have a clean heart than wear fringes with an unclean heart. If I had to pick one of the two, obviously you would want to do both, meaning wear fringes and have an unclean heart. But I know if that happened to be the case, that's what I would be focused on for that day. Okay. Now, last part here. Lastly, I know you do not charge for your teachings, but if there is a way to donate to the channel, please let me know. Thank you for your time. I appreciate that, brother. I don't have anything set up currently. Maybe I'll set up something later. I would just put it in the description. Probably wouldn't even mention it, but for right now, I don't have anything set up, and I'm not going to do it right now currently. I probably would just donate it to other brothers anyways, just at this current moment. It could change, obviously, but just at this current moment. But that's pretty much it. Anytime it comes to these lessons, I try to provide a different perspective than, just saying the obvious. So that's why I'm taking my time and saying all these different things and quote unquote ranting in a sense. Because, hey, you asked me, so I'm just telling you. That's pretty much it. Lord willing, this perspective helps at least a little brother and anyone else. Lord willing, it was edifying. And to the next time, I bid everyone a mighty shalom.